Hey guys, we're back. This time we'll be taking a look at Star Trek Alliance, the Dominion War Campaign Part 3. This is a continuation of the Dominion War co-op and solo player campaign where you're using the attack wing system to take on AI-driven ships through campaign scenario missions, leveling up your captain and going through and building up to a final battle, basically. In this part, we're introducing the Romulans as playable faction, along with the Brain, who were Dominion allies. It looks like a Brain battleship. Battleship, or I can never tell the Brain ships. I'm terrible with them. I think that's a battleship. Anyway, we're going to get right in and take a look. So first off in the box here, we have our AI cards. And these are what you're going to be using to control the AI on the various ships. There is a lot of them in here. Looks like they came with one of each. I'm not sure, I said that with the second part 2 one. I'm not sure if they include all of them because, just to be thorough, like this third box comes with one from every ship. The Beetles were only in the first box. The Battle Cruiser and the Galar were only in the second box. So it may use tokens for them. In fact, I see a Galar token right there. So that's probably the case, but it includes all the AI stuff. I don't know if anything on them has been updated. I will have to double check and compare those. But yeah, you get one for every ship. So here's our new Jem'Hadar battleship. I was correct. 6 attacks, 0 agility because it's just too dang big. 7 hull, 4 shield. That's a combined 11 there. That is a lot of damage this thing can absorb. You have your maneuver. This is pretty much all the same on these. Over here you have your close range, long range, and then what it is. So say your ship is over here at long range. You're going to look at the long range chart. That's how you're going to choose your maneuver. Again, these 3 mirror for this side. Then you go down to actions. This is exactly the same on these. And then a combat phase. And the bigger ships seem to be able to fire both weapons, which is cool. And that is our battleship. The other new ship we've got for this expansion is the Brain Cruiser. 3 attack, 2 agility, 4 hull, 3 shield. Still not bad. If I recall, these things are pretty maneuverable as well. I had a Brain fleet at one point. Energy dissipators was disgusting. I don't know if they have them in this. Hopefully not. And then, of course, we've got our Jem'Hadar attack ships, the Beetles from the first game. Some people call them bugs. I saw a video where somebody called it a bug, and everybody was picking on them in the chat. And it's like, no, they're bugs, beetles, whatever you want to call them. Then we've got our Jem'Hadar battle cruiser, which was from the second expansion, or first expansion, the second part. And then the Gator class Cardassian ship. Oddly enough, we didn't get a Keldon class. Next up in here, we have the D6, which you're going to roll on these charts to see what your ships do. Pretty self-explanatory. We have a D12, which is just a round counter. It's used to keep track of rounds because certain things, events happen at specific rounds. New enemies spawn, that kind of thing. We got ship dials, and as I mentioned in the first video, I was upset that they didn't come with ship dials for the bad guy ships, basically. So you couldn't use them in attack wing, which was a real downer for me. They fixed that in the second one. They continued that in the third one. So we have a Jem'Hadar battleship dial. We have a Brain cruiser dial. Somewhere there's another Brain cruiser dial. We have a Dideridex class Romulan ship. Another one. And, oh, there's only 5 ships. For some reason I'm thinking there were 6. We have our bag of tokens. Shield tokens galore. Your different action tokens are in there. Did not come with bags, so I sorted these in bags myself. They're not staying in bags. I put them in a little token container, so it's just temporary. Got our mission tokens here, and I do like in Alliance, these mission tokens are actually numbered 1 to 12. Other than that, they're the exact same mission tokens. They just put numbers on them. Maybe the original ones had numbers and I'm just not remembering it. I don't think the original, maybe the second edition. Then we've got our captain tokens. These are numbered 1 to 12. They are different on the different sides, which I didn't notice the first time I looked at these. But they have an 11 on this side and a 5 on that side. And then you have your Romulan ones, which are different colors. But the idea behind these is you match them up. You put one on, or well, you're supposed to put 2, but nobody uses 2. You always put 1 on the base of the ship. You might have to put 2 with the numbers being different on the back, though, now that I think about it. But you put them on the slots on your ship bases, and then you're going to put 1 on the cards pertaining to the ship, so you know which ship goes with which. And then what else we got here? We've got some tokens. These are scenery. These ones have asteroid fields on one side, as all of them have in Alliance. I think they even reused the same pictures on some. On the back side, we've got, this was a shipyard in the second one. I don't know if it's something different in this, but that was the Dominion shipyard. These are Cardassian turrets and another shipyard. So unless they use them for something different, that's what you got on those. Then you got these tokens, which are used to represent ships. What do we got here? I see a pair of Romulan scout ships. And then the same on the back. So Romulan scout ships are going to come into play at some time. Maybe we've got to escort them on a mission. Have not looked at the missions yet in this, so you'll have to bear with me on that. What else do we got? We got some Cardassian ships. So I think you use these if you don't have the previous part 2 that came with Cardassian ships or your own. They do mark up to 4 on here. And then they have the quadrants on there, obviously, because they're to be used as NPCs. Then we have the Beetle ships. Same thing with these. If you don't have part 1, you can use these. They go up to 6. Might be able to use them on a mission where you run out too. Say you have all 3 in play and 3 more spawn. Now you can have up to 6. And then we have a battle cruiser 1 and 2. I really hope there's not 2 of the battle cruisers in the mission. They were pretty tough in the last one. That's it for the ship marker tokens. Oh yeah, each one of these came with extra pegs, which is kind of cool because you used to never get extras, and then you'd get one where it was missing, or you have 2 males and not be able to put the dials together. Each one of these came with, I think, an extra peg set, which is really cool. And I have a bunch of old dials, I think, that are missing pegs still, so that'll work for that. They used to mail them out to you if you asked them for it, but really nice to actually have an option to get the extra pegs there. Underneath here, get this out. As with the last one, we've got a complete rule book. And again, on this one, they redid the entire rule book, all of the images with Romulan ships. I give them credit for doing that, because that's actually a lot of unnecessary work that was just done just to make things more thorough, I guess. Because, yeah, every example in the book uses Romulan ships instead of the Federation, and there were Klingons in the last one. That is just a cool little extra step to me that didn't need to be done. But everything you need to know to play Attack Wing or Alliance is in here. It includes all the stuff on leveling up and playing the campaign. In it's decent order, easy to reference. They have a index in the back to look up things. They have a cheat sheet on the back of the book. I can't say I'm a newcomer. I've been playing the game for a long time, so I know a lot of the rules by heart, and I only use it to reference things and look them up. But from what I've seen, it's all laid out pretty easily. Somebody who's new to the game will have to let me know if they learned from the game and how it was for that. Because everybody always asks me that, and I can't learn a game that I already know how to play. So I have read through and looked through the books, and there are a few new things in there, a few things that have changed. But yeah, I didn't learn to play from the book, so I always make that clear to people. Then we have our Dominion War campaign. And this, the first couple pages are pretty much the same in every book. They show you the basics and setup and how the campaign system works. And then you get into your campaign. In this one, it looks like we have 7 missions again. And there's a little story at the top to get you into it. And then we'll go back to our tray here. So next thing, onto the bases. And we have, looks like a green ship there. The stats on the side, the available actions on this side. You have your fire arc as the highlighted area, and then these are broke up because of the way the scripting cards work for the AI. You have a forward, rear, left, right, and then a diagonal each way. On the flip side, they don't have any of those. They just have the regular arc, so you use this side when you play it in an attack wing or as a playable ship, and this side is what you use for the AI in the game. We should have 2 of those. There's the other one, so there's 2 of those. Then we have our Jem'Hadar battleship. Same thing here. On the flip side. Now you can see on this one, when you use it as a playable ship here, it's got the 90-degree front arc, and then it's got this smaller dotted line is your secondary arc for your secondary weapons. And it's also that's a 45-degree front arc versus the 90 front. Most ships have that auxiliary one on the rear, so that's kind of odd on that. Then we go to our Romulan ships. And these are the player ones. Again, stats on one side, this on the other. They are the same on both sides because there are no named versions of these ships. It's actually cut off on there. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so they're the same on both sides because there's no named versions of the ship like there are in the attack wing ones. Same with this one. I wonder if this one's cut off too. Nope, that's just odd that that one's miscut. We got our bag of pegs. They give you enough, I think, for 2 for every model. I generally only ever use 1 unless 2 models are next to each other and you need the added height. So here we have our Romulan Dideridex. And they have this greenish metallic paint to them. It's kind of hard to catch on camera. And then the highlights are done in a darker color. Not bad, not a whole lot of color on these. A little bit of highlighting here. Would have done that same highlighting on the sides of the nacelles or something, but I don't paint miniatures, so they're playable to me. That's all that matters. Let's see if I can get these on the bases properly. There's 2 of those. Next we have our Brain Cruiser. And these actually have a surprising amount of detail on them for what they are. Everything's been highlighted. I think they look considerably better than the old ones. Didn't do the bottom on these, but you're only ever going to see the top side anyway. And you get 2 of those as well. And finally we have the big boy. And I said with the other Jem'Hadar ships, they painted these in a really light metallic. I would have thought it would be a darker color. I think they look better that way, but maybe I'm misremembering them from the show. I always thought they were darker. Not bad though. I think I already cracked it, but this is a problem. It's common with attack wing ships. They're off-centered, and if you try to turn these, it'll crack the little plastic piece on the bottom. The only way to actually do this is to heat this up and pop the glue out and then re-glue this centered. It's really annoying. It's kind of a small pet peeve thing when it comes to attack wing ships, but there's a lot of them like that. Common occurrence. So that just leaves us with the cards. We're going to get to those real quick. This first pack is just the AI cards for our various ships. We have 3 Jem'Hadar cards here. Now these are for the attack ships. These are all the same on the first side. Captain skill of 1, no abilities. You'll put your little number tokens on here to represent which one represents which ship. This is where you keep track of your damage and everything on them. I haven't double checked to see if these are different and you add them to the ones from the existing previous expansions because they came with those too. But on the flip side, they are veterans. And on the veteran side, they have a higher captain skill, or elites, I guess they call them. And then each one has a unique ability. And I've been meaning to look to see if these are different than the ones in the previous set so you can combine them all. And what happens is you shuffle these up and say there's 2 regulars and an elite. You'll lay these out and then you'll flip over the elite one. And each time you're going to get a different elite with a different ability. But I don't know if these are reprints of the ones that already exist or if they're new ones you add in. Because I think there were 6 in the first game, 3 in the second, and then 3 more in here. So I have to double check that. But that's something worth keeping in mind. Gives you a little bit of variety each time you play through. You have the same thing for the Galar class Cardassian ships. Generic side here. The elite side here with the different abilities. There's only 2 of these, which seems odd. Maybe they don't show up very often in the campaign. Then we have our Breen ships. We have 4 of those. Again, they start with a 5 on the generic side, which is kind of crazy. They're going to be high-skilled ships. And on the back, they go to an 8. I'm not going to read through all the abilities, but I'll show them on here. You can pause and read them if you want. Those are the Breen ships. Next we have the Jem'Hadar battle cruiser. There's only 1 of these, so I'm thinking they are different and you add these to the ones from the previous game. But you got your 5 on one side here and your 7 on the back. And this ship is a token in this game or a model if you have part 2. And then we have 3 for our battleship. They start at a 7, which is kind of crazy. Go up to a 9 on the back. And then you have your different abilities. And then we have our 2 player cards. These are where you're going to write your captain name up here. As you level up, you're going to move this up. It raises your captain skill. And when you get to these underlined ones, you get to fill in 2 of these here. Whatever one you leave unfilled in, you get to add that slot to your ship. That happens at 3 and 6 up here. And then as you fill in the last, so this last 3, when you get past these boxes up here, you're going to be able to add a new elite talent to your ship. And you get 1 there, 1 at the last 6, and then 1 at the 9. Down here you have your crew, weapons, and tech. These are all going to start at a 0. As you fill these in, you go move them over, and as you cover them up, you're going to use whatever the last uncovered one is here. So in this case, it would be the 2. So in that case, you can spend up to 2 points on crew. Goes the same for any of the ones down there up to 10 points. And they still have to abide by the slots available on your ship. So you have to have these slots or you have to add the slot using this up here. They give you enough for 2 of these. Would have liked to have seen these on a tearaway papers, reusable stuff. I'm sure you can find a place to print them out online. Me, I sleeved these and you just use a dry erase marker on there and you can wipe them off. That works well. If you use cheaper sleeves too, then you don't have to worry about having to replace them and eventually throw some penny sleeves on there. Replace them as needed. Next pack of cards, we're going to get into the ship stuff. And we have our maneuver chart for the Breen battlecruiser. Pretty standard affair. It's got the generic green that every ship has. Got 2 hard turns in white, which is nice. 3 in red. And then the 3 come out. It's pretty standard dial all around. Nothing spectacular there. But it's, I think, yeah, listed as a cruiser. So it's pretty average for cruiser. They give you 2 cards for that, which I didn't pay attention to. And then also we have 2 cards for the ship itself. So there's your Breen cruiser, 3 attack, 2 agility, 4 hull, 3 shield. They have evasive, target lock, and scan. 16 points, which doesn't matter in this game, but if you want to use them in attack wing. And then you have your tech upgrade, 2 weapon upgrades, and a crew upgrade. Both are the same. not a bad ship. I wasn't really a huge fan of the brain ones in Attack Wing, but they're playable. Next up, we have the Jem'Hadar battleship. Much more powerful here with the 6 attack, 0 agility because it's a huge ship. 7 hull, 4 shield, like I mentioned earlier. That's a lot to beat up and get through to blow it up. You got evasive, target lock, scan, and battle stations. 29 points. 1 tech upgrade, 2 weapon upgrades, 2 crew upgrades. Very nice ship overall. Reasonable point cost for that stat line too. The downside of being such a big ship, though, the turning maneuvers here are horrendous. You lose the standard green bank turn, so 1 bank is a white maneuver on this. That's pretty sketchy, but you gain 3 forward as greens. No 2 turns, only 2 banks, and then your 3 turns are red. No come about maneuver because it's such a large ship. So keep that in mind. You're very limited on what you can do. It's a trade-off for that extra armor and size that you have, basically, and the firepower that goes with it. And then finally we have the Romulan Dederdex ships. 3 attack, 2 agility, 6 hull, 3 shield. It's nice there, a little light on the attack power. 25 points. You get evasive, target lock, cloak, and sensor echo. And a tech upgrade, weapon upgrade, and 2 crew upgrades. Pretty sure they are both the same. Yep. So you get 2 of those in here. Not a great ship, but not a terrible ship either. I've always been more partial to the Baldor. If I got a choice, I would probably go with the Baldor over these. The lower cost, I think these used to be much higher, so 25 points isn't too bad for them, but again, I would almost always take a Baldor over these given the choice. But they're not horrible, there's definitely worse. And they have actually surprisingly good maneuverability for the ship they are. They don't have a come about maneuver, but they do have this 2 reverse in red. Then they have no other red on the dial, so their 2 hard turns and 3 hard turns are still white, which are really nice. And then the standard green in the middle, top out at 4 forward. But not bad considering the size of the ship. There are no captain cards in this. You are the captain in this, so as you go up levels, your captain skill goes up here, your elite talents go up here, so they don't actually have captains, not even generic ones in this. So we're going to skip right on to the elite talent cards. First up here we have Cunning. It's 5 points. Klingon. And when attacking, if the ship has no active shields, you may convert 1 blank into a hit. When defending, if the shield has no active ship has no active shields, you may re-roll 1 blank result. So this actually comes into play when cloaking because you can still have shields, they're just not active. That's why it's Klingon, I'm sure. But yeah, so when you're attacking from cloak, you're basically gaining an extra ability there as well as defending. Pretty nice. Comes in handy when you're cloaked because you have those defense dice. You have no shields to protect yourself. So I like that one. Next we have Independent. This is a Romulan upgrade for 5 points. Range 1 to 2. When attacking or defending, if there are no friendly ships within range of the ship, you may convert 1 blank to a hit or a evade. So basically similar to the last one there, except this one works on yourself when you're off on your own, basically. So if you got a ship who likes to go off on his own and do his own thing, that's going to come into play there. Next we have Anticipation. 2 points, Romulan upgrade. During the reveal dial step, you can discard this card, change your ship maneuver to any green or white maneuver instead. This is interesting because it lets you basically retro react to something. The only thing is, I don't know if it's so much in Alliance, but I could definitely see this being useful in Attack Wing. So you can see when they're revealing the dials and you see your opponent, oh, they're going there. I was expecting them to go here. You can play this, change your dial, and basically react to theirs. Not so much in this one because you have the reveal dial step, and then you're rolling for the AI. So I'm not sure the timing on that. I'd have to look, but I don't think it would be as helpful. It might come into play if you accidentally chose the wrong maneuver. A lot of times people will choose a left instead of a right, and it could let you correct that. But what to see on that one depends on the timing. And there are 2 copies of that in here. Being that it's in here and there's 2 copies, it may be that you get to see where the what the AI roll before you as you reveal. I'm not sure. Like I said, I got to look up the timing on that. Next, we have suspicious. Sorry for the glare on these. 4 points, Romulan upgrade. During the combat phase, target a friendly ship within range 1 to 2. Move a battle station's evade, scan, or blue target lock token from beside that ship. Place that token beside this ship. So it kind of lets you steal tokens from other people. That one's kind of funny. I'm assuming you would ask permission, but I guess as a Romulan you wouldn't have to. But let's let you get a little bit of teamwork going. Something similar to this in the previous, and I can't remember what it was, but it lets you share tokens. So that one was you giving someone a token. This one's more you stealing one. Next we have opportunistic. 3 points, again Romulan upgrade. When attacking, modify during the modify attack dice step, if the opposing ship has a lower captain skill than this ship, you can convert a blank or battle station to a hit. So this is the opposite of the Klingon one, where you get bonuses for attacking ships equal to or stronger than you. In this case, you get bonuses for attacking ships weaker than you. Makes sense for the Romulans. Next, we have evasive, 2 points. During the execute maneuver step, when you would execute a 1 bank maneuver, place 2 time tokens on this instead. You can use the 1 turn template instead. Interesting there. I don't think the ship has a 1 turn on the dial. Well, depends on the ship you're using, but yeah, so that would be a unexpected ability to pull off at the opportune time. Interesting one there. 2 time tokens means you can only use it every 3 rounds, but for 2 points, it's not too bad. There's still a 1 maneuver, just basically go from a 45 turn to a 90-degree turn. Situational, but useful. And next we have 2 copies of Ambush Tactics. And this is 3 points. And it can only be used on Romulan ships. And then this X up here, I went over in a different video. I'm not sure how long these have been around, but you have the unique icon, which is kind of the star. These are 1 per ship with the X like that. So when attacking while cloaked, place 3 time tokens on this card. You may convert up to 3 battle station results into hits. Not bad, say once per 4 turns, so you're only going to use it maybe twice a game at most. I don't know how many rounds a game lasts these days, but yeah, you're looking at using it maybe twice a game, and it gives you the equivalent of a free battle stations. Converting your battle stations to a hit. That's what battle stations normally does, except this limits you to only 3. Your ships in this are only doing 3, maybe 4 dice damage, so it's the same thing as far as I'm concerned. But not a bad card. 3 points for something you might use twice a game at best is kind of steep, but for what it does, you can freeze up that action so you can use it on something else. And because it doesn't require an action to use, it doesn't require an action to rearm, it can just let it do its thing. Not too bad. Next we get into our crew upgrades. First thing we have here is an ops officer for 4 points. As an action, place a scan token beside this ship. You may also choose 1 opposing ship within range 1 to 2 over here, and remove a scan battle station or a bay token from beside that ship. Kind of useful. A little pricey, but I like that you're getting the token and removing a token, so it's kind of a double use there. So not horrible. I'm not a Romulan player, so a lot of these Romulan players out there are probably looking at them going, hey, these are great. I'm thinking they're okay. But that's just me. Next up here we have Sub Commander for 5 points. During the execute maneuver step, if this ship performed a green or white maneuver and it did not overlap a ship or obstacle, place a evade token beside the ship. Basically gives you a free evade if you don't run into things as long as you're doing a green or white maneuver. Definitely okay. 5 points is a bit steep, but evade tokens are nice, and the fact that you can basically get 2 tokens a turn could be possible depending on what you're doing. It's tempting, a little pricey, I think. Next, we have Science Officer for 2 points. You can spend evade tokens if there were scan tokens. That can be useful in certain situations. Definitely up to you. If you have other ways extra ways to get scan tokens that might, or evade tokens too, that might come in handy. Maybe you gave yourself an evade token and the enemy swerved away, and then nobody has a shot on you. Now you can still do something with that token. So useful there. Tactical Officer for 4 points. When attacking, if you're outside the target's primary fire arc, add +1 hit to the result. So basically you get bonuses for attacking from behind. Very Romulan. Not a bad thing. 4 points is a little high, but you're going to get to use this on every attack as long as you can stay out of their fire arc. Not always going to happen, but depending on who you're shooting at, you might be able to pick and choose your targets with that. Next we have an Engineer for 3 points. During the end phase, disable this card, choose one of the following. Repair 1 shield or remove a time token from one of the ship's upgrade cards. Both useful things. It is a disable, however, so you're going to have to use an action to re-enable it later. But both of these are good options, especially on ships that cloak. Being able to repair a shield allows you to go from 0 shields, put one of your shields back on, now you can cloak again. So definitely useful there. Next we have Helmsman for 2 points. During the activation phase, you can put 2 time tokens on this card. This ship can make a green maneuver, basically extra maneuverability. This one I like, only 2 points, and it's reusable. You don't have to waste an action to rearm it. It's going to come back up as soon as those time tokens are gone, so every 3 turns. But yeah, always being able to pull an extra green maneuver is nice. Depends on what ship you put it on too, depending on how many green maneuvers you have. But generally, it's the 1 banks and the 1 forward that allow you to do that. Sometimes a 2 forward. Second copy of the Helmsman. And then we have another engineer. This one's a Klingon engineer. It's a bit different here. During the end phase, if you don't have a auxiliary power token, you can gain an auxiliary power token and then choose one of the following. Repair a hull, flip 1 face down card. This one I actually like even better because it allows you to get rid of criticals. Repair hull damage. It does not repair shields. I think there's another Klingon card that does that, so keep that in mind. You won't be able to put your shields back up. You won't be able to use it to cloak. So there's the trade-off there. But being able to repair criticals is very nice. Give yourself an aux power token, so next turn you pull a green maneuver, clear that out, and you're good to go. Repairing the hull, there's a lot of things that repair hull, but I'm more interested in this repairing criticals. So definitely interesting there at the cost of just getting an auxiliary power token. As long as you're in a position where you can pull a green maneuver next turn, really cost you nothing. So definitely interesting one there. Now we're on to weapons. First one here we have is Disruptor Suite. 4 points. It's a Klingon upgrade. Fires out of the main arc, your primary arc. The attack value of this is the ship's primary weapon value -1, so you're losing 1 off of that. As an attack, you disable this card, target all opposing ships, make a separate attack roll against each ship. That I really like. Range 1 to 2, so you're limited to closer up. It basically uses your primary weapon to attack every ship within range 1 to 2 in your front arc at -1 damage, 1 die anyway. Definitely interesting, especially if you put this on a higher attack value ship. I can see where it's worth it. It is a disable, so you're going to have to refresh it to put it back up. It's going to cost you an action there, but I think it's well worth it. Depends on what you're fighting against. If you're fighting against 1 or 2 big ships, not so useful. If you're fighting against a swarm of little ships, say a bunch of beetles, then it might be worth it to be able to damage a bunch of them at once. I kind of like it. I think the Klingons have something similar with a torpedo barrage as well. Next we have Heavy Disruptor. 5 points. This one's a Romulan. Fires out of the primary arc. Can only go on a D'Deridex ship. As an attack, you gain 1 auxiliary power token. Choose an opposing ship. It's got range 2 to 3 and 4 attack value. Modify attack dice step. If the target has a printed agility of 0 or 1, you get to add a critical. That's very nice, especially against monster right here with a 0. I think, what else am I looking at? The bigger ship, the other bigger ship, the cruiser, I think has a 1, so it'll work on either of those. Definitely an interesting weapon. I like that. Next, we have heavy plasma torpedoes for 5. This fires out of a primary arc, Romulan only. It's got an attack value of 4, range 1 to 2. As an attack, you place 3 time tokens on this card and an auxiliary token beside your ship. Target an opposing ship during the multiply attack dice step. If the target has a printed value agility of 0, convert all of your hits to crits. Wow. Again, this is useful against the big guy there, and I think that's what they're designed for. Very interesting weapon, though. Situational, I'm not a huge fan of torpedoes. 3 time locks means you're only going to fire this once every 4 turns. 4 attack isn't huge to begin with, but that ability, if you're shooting it at the battleship, is just disgusting. Especially if you have something that allows you to manipulate your dice to guarantee a few more hits on there, because that's a lot of crits you can do. Next up, we have Ventral Disruptors for 3 points. It's attack value of 3, range 1. Target opponent's ship. The ship may fire this in any direction. You can convert a battle stations into a hit. But you got to be at range 1 to do it, but the any direction's nice because you can shoot basically in the other 3 directions that you can't normally shoot in. So, not horrible. 3 attack is okay. It's the same as the primary, I suppose, on a Dideridex. The downside is you're not getting that bonus for range because this is a secondary weapon, so keep that in mind. Even if they're at range 1, if they're in your front arc, you're better off using your primary instead of this. But it does give you an option to shoot 360. I wish it was range 1 to 2. It might be maybe 4 points, range 1 to 2. Might be a little more worth taking. I think there was a dorsal disruptor or something that did that. Next, we have Integrated Cloak for 2 points. This can only be used on Romulan ships. After attacking, if you destroy the target, you can perform a free cloak action. If you already have a cloak token, you can flip it back to its green side. That's pretty nice. Allows you to basically shoot and remain cloaked. Definitely like that. Have to destroy the target to do it, though. So if somebody else softens the target up, you can drop out a cloak, fire, re-cloak. I like that. 2 points is definitely worth it on that, especially if you're playing a Romulan fleet. I think I want multiple copies of this because you can put 1 per ship. The gears are turning for my Valdor fleet. Next up, we have Enhanced Torpedoes. For 3 points, these can be fired from a primary or secondary arc. 5 damage, 2 to 3, or 5 dice, I should say. 2 to 3 range. Spend the ship's target lock token, place 3 time tokens on this, and target an opposing ship. Convert up to 2 blanks into hits. That's a slightly better version of a photon torpedo, I think. At range 3, you're not giving them the bonus because it's a secondary weapon, if I recall. It's been a while. So 5 attack. Yeah, not bad. I'm not a huge fan of torpedoes. First, you're spending a target lock, which you could be using to re-roll. Second, 3 time tokens means you're only firing this once every 4 turns, but it's not bad if you put it on a ship that has a rear arc, which I don't think either of the Dideridex in this expansion do. Rear arc would help you with that, but not horrible, but I've never been a big fan of torpedoes. And finally, we have Singularity Leak. 5 points during the activation phase. When a ship performs a maneuver that ends within range 1 of you, you must roll an attack die. It's a must. I just noticed that. On a hit or crit, the ship suffers 1 damage. It's outside of the combat phase, so they don't get any of their bonuses either on that, so that's kind of cool. 5 points is up there. Situational, because I got to end within range 1 of you. But free attacks. You really can't knock that, especially if you're good with your dice rolls. Some days I can't roll crap, and it wouldn't be worth it, but definitely an interesting idea. I might give that one a try at some point. And the last bit are the tech upgrades. First off here we have thruster efficiency, 5 points. This is a Klingon upgrade. Can only go on a Cabort and Burrell, I think. During the execute maneuver step, place 3 time tokens on this card. Treat a red maneuver as a white maneuver or a white maneuver as a green maneuver. Definitely useful in the correct situations. Being able to do red maneuvers, count them as white. Then you can take an action, or a white maneuver as a green to get rid of an aux token maybe. Not a bad card all around. 5 points is a bit expensive, but if you built your ships around this and you plan on taking a lot of tight turns, a lot of red things, maybe you can only use it once every 4 turns, so it's possibly only one real good use out of it. The big thing I see, especially with these, is I know they both have a come about maneuver, so that would turn your come about maneuver into a white. That could be interesting. Little pricey, but definitely could be worth it if the situation was, perfect for it. Next, we have ventral thrusters, 4 points. When the ship performs a sensor echo action, you can move sideways using the 1 bank templates instead. That's pretty cool. And during the activation phase, you can discard this card, perform a free sensor echo action, even if you're not cloaked, and you can move sideways using the 1 bank template. That's interesting. It could add some unexpected maneuverability to a ship. The 1 bank is actually considerably longer than the normal 1, too, so very interesting there. It also would adjust your heading just out by 45 degrees, so something to keep in mind there. Next, we have the Muon, I'm sure I said that wrong, feedback beam for 3 points, range 1. During the end phase, if you're not cloaked, choose a ship within range. Remove an auxiliary token from beside this ship and place it by the chosen ship. It doesn't have to be a friendly ship, so yeah, you basically can transfer your auxiliary tokens to someone else. That's interesting. Gives you a way to give the AI aux tokens. Could definitely see that being useful in a normal attack wing player versus player game as well. I have to mess around with that one. I can think of a couple uses for it. Next, we have the molecular phase inverter, 2 points. During the execute maneuver step, if you overlap an obstacle, place 2, or when you overlap an obstacle, place 2 time tokens on this card. You do not skip your perform action step. So it lets you just kind of phase through things. Interesting. 2 points. That might be worth that. Depends on the field. If it's a very cluttered field with a lot of debris, definitely be worth it. Maybe if you're planning on being up close and personal with people and you may run into another ship. It says obstacle though, so I don't think it pertains to ships. But mainly on a cluttered battlefield, I can see that being used. Next we have advanced cloaking for 4 points. When attacking, if the ship is cloaked and does not have an auxiliary token beside it, place an auxiliary token beside it. The ship's token does not flip to red this side. Oh, so it allows you to stay cloaked when you're attacked. Similar to the other thing. Not quite as good, but definitely interesting. It doesn't require the ship to blow up, too, like the other one did. But you're getting an aux token for it. So, situational, but useful. Plasma coil overcharge. 2 points. You may treat all of your forward maneuvers as green. That could be interesting. During the execute maneuver step, if the ship performs a bank maneuver, you may discard this card, treat that maneuver as green. So it gives you added maneuverability, ways to get rid of aux tokens. Pretty much counting everything as green. I like it. Useful. And finally we have Deep Cloak. A lot of different kinds of cloaks in here. Almost like Romulans like cloaking. 3 points, Romulan only. Range 1 to 2. During the combat phase, if you are cloaked, opposing ships that do not have scan tokens beside their ship can only target you if they're within range. Oh, so it lets things at range 3 can't target you. It only counts on the turn you're cloaking anyway. I don't think I would actually bother with that one. I mean, I guess if you got... I'm not sure, yeah. Because once you're cloaked, they can't target you anyway. It's only the turn that you're cloaking when you first place the token, it's on your base, that they can still target you. No. Oh, it's all in the wording. That's target lock. they can still shoot at you even if you're cloaked. This means they can't shoot at you at all. They can't even target you. Got to pay attention to wording. So yeah, that's considerably better than I was originally thinking. Yeah, that's really interesting, especially combined with some of these other cards that let you stay cloaked and still fire. So basically, you just shoot at them, and they wouldn't be able to shoot back at you. Definitely interesting. Would force people to waste their actions on scans so that they could do this. Not that they people might use it anyway if you're cloaked, but yeah, that's definitely much better than I originally expected. Got to read the cards. And that is a look at everything that comes with the Star Trek Alliance Dominion War Campaign Part 3. Lots of cool stuff in here. I'm not a huge Romulan player. I do have a couple Romulan fleets I like, and there's definitely some cool upgrade cards in there I can't wait to try out on there. We'll have to go through, I keep saying this every video and I forget to check, but I will check. I'm pretty sure that these are different than the cards, the backsides on them are different than the ones that are in the previous version, so that adds a lot more variety to what these ships can do. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of cool stuff here, and I'm going to get it all packed up, play a few games, and I'll come back to you with my final thoughts. So what do I think about the Alliance Dominion War campaign part 3? Again, I'm going to say the same thing I've said about all of them. I wish there were more missions. I think I incorrectly said in the beginning there's 7 missions in the book, but you don't actually play all 7 of those missions in the campaign either. Now you can start with the first game and go through all the ones in that, the second one go through all the ones in that, and then this one and go through all the ones in that. And I think ideally that's the way it was intended, but there's kind of a choose your own path through there depending on the outcomes of certain missions. Other missions become available and so on. So you don't play through all of the missions. So I wish there were more. I will say there were some different unique missions in this one that were kind of definitely different than the ones in the other. The second one had a couple escort type missions in it, or destroy, where you're taking out cargo ships. This one, there was a lot focused on taking out the Cardassian turrets, which I think there were some of those in the first one, at least one mission. But it's interesting. I think the very first mission in this has you hunting down the battleship, which is kind of cool. So overall, it was a fun experience. I think I like the second one the best out of all of them, but all of them combined are a great experience to have. Just wish there was more to it. The introduction of the brain and the bigger battleship here. It's nice to have something big, like a boss type thing to go after. The cruiser was okay in the second one, but the battleship in this one's definitely a threat. Overall, though, same thing I said with the other ones. If you're a fan of Attack Wing, if you're a fan of Alliance, you're definitely going to want more to add to it. If you want to play co-op or single player even, definitely worth having. I may even go through and buy extra boxes because there's some cards and stuff in there I want extras of. That'll also allow me to up the player count. It's 1 to 2 players per box. So I think if you have all 3 boxes, you can play 6 player. I'm not positive. I have to check that. I think there's enough tokens and things in there. But at least if you buy a secondary box of something, it gives you plenty. Or if you bring in your attack wing stuff, you can play up to 6 player. And that just gets interesting because there's a lot of AI ships out there, higher player counts. So another option you can do if you're like me and you're crazy and you want to play with extra upgrades and things from Attack Wing, once you bring those into here, things tend to get a little easier. So we played on a higher player count than we actually played, and we messed around with that, and that was a lot of fun because your ship's a little overpowered when you get all the upgrades and things when you have access to basically everything that's ever come out. But at the same time, you throw double or triple the amount of ships out there to fight, and suddenly it evens things out a lot. So that's kind of fun. Definitely gives more replayability to the game too as well. I kind of want to play through solo on a high play count. Just go nuts with my builds and see what I can come up with. But you always start out weak, and then once you start upgrading and unlocking things, it's a lot of fun going through. I like the way things you progress and you gain new abilities and things. I like that they add a chart in the book that allows you to use ships from your existing collection that aren't in this. That's pretty cool. The one complaint I had with the Romulans is that they gave you 2 D'Deridex, which is cool, but you don't have an early ship. The D'Deridex is kind of a late game, mid game ship. I would have liked to have seen a Romulan scout or something in there to start out in, and then you could progress up through a bird of prey and up into a warbird or a D'Deridex. Maybe a D7 in there for old school. But yeah, it was not bad. I'm not a huge fan of Romulans, so their play style takes a little bit getting used to. Solo wise, I'm not a big fan of them. I do love the Beldor ships. Would have had fun with a bunch of those, but solo play with Romulans is kind of rough. They're more of a support class. If you play them in conjunction with the Klingons or the Federation, definitely a huge step up there, and it makes them a lot more fun, I think. That's me personally. Everybody's going to have their own opinions on it. Cardassians have always been my go-to, and they're bad guys in this, so I am going to try a playthrough using Cardassians to playable ships, though, and figure out base points wise, average what I should be using for each class. But they have different classes of ships, so it should work out. I'll let you know some point how that goes, but we're going to try that. As far as this game goes, like I said, if you're interested in Attack Wing, the entire Alliance collection is great. It's a great way to do the game co-op, to do it solo, and there's a lot of upgrade cards and stuff in here to basically add to your Attack Wing collection. So it's a bonuses all around as far as I'm concerned. Definitely looking forward to seeing a new alliance. I think this is the conclusion of the Dominion War, but I can see them easily doing an alliance board event. I mentioned that in my last video. A Wolf 359 reenactment would be great. I have the oversized board cube that I use for the scenario that comes with that, and that is a huge blast. So I could imagine doing that as like the end boss to a huge campaign. And if they don't make one, I'm gonna make one for it. So I'm gonna keep an eye out and see if anything's in the works. But that may be something I start working on because I'm definitely interested in it, and I think it would be a lot of fun. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for our look at Star Trek Alliance, the Dominion War Campaign, Part 3. Definitely, if you're on the fence about it, I say pick them up. You can pick up all three of them right now. If anything, like anything else WizKids does, they're going to be harder and harder to get as time goes on. A lot of the Attack Wing stuff was that way. If you didn't buy the faction boxes when they came out, good luck getting your hands on them. So I wouldn't wait too long on these, but since this is kind of what they're pushing right now, I think they're going to be in stock for a little while. Just look around, you'll be able to find them at decent prices. And yeah, pick them up, enjoy it, have a blast. Best thing about it is, like I said, you can play co-op, you can play solo, and you can play them in the head-to-head Attack Wing. So all kinds of cool content in there, and definitely worth it if you're a fan of the franchise. That's going to wrap it up for our look at the Star Trek Alliance Dominion War Part 3. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.